the Age of Fission radio show with your host, Lonnie Clark. We stand together and accept that we now live in a world transformed by Fukushima. From 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on UCY.TV radio. We relentlessly engage every ear that listens. We expose and confront the complete lack of accountability for the nuclear industry. Consider social engineering programs who view our bodies, minds, and souls as assets on a balance sheet. We discuss vital current issues, interview activists, and engage our audience in an effort to allow all voices to be heard. The Age of Vision radio show creates a venue that all will choose. We encourage our listeners to reclaim their power and their courage to take action and save our planet from the ravages of greed and indifference. Our actions matter. Every voice matters. We remind our listeners that happiness is resistance. Love is greater than fear.
Good morning, UCY.TV radio listeners. This is Lonnie Clark with the Age of Fission radio show. Today is April 9th, 2018. It's 8 o'clock in the morning here in Eugene, Oregon. I want to thank our listeners to UCY.TV and to my radio show. Thank you for joining us. I know that this is not an easy topic to talk about all the time, but I'm sure you're like me. I look forward to the interviews with the activists and the people that really don't get a voice anywhere else. They might get it on one or two alternative radio shows here and there, but they don't have a regular voice. And I am, other than Nuclear Hot Seat, which is a once-a-week show. So I'm really grateful for Jules to giving us this venue so that we can get people out whose voice is out on the air, who normally have to take to writing. They write letters to the editor. They hope to be interviewed by local news stations. They hope to be out there, and they hope to engage people on their issues. And on our radio show, we make an effort to give them a voice every morning and give people a chance to break the spell of the Manhattan Project, which is kind of sort of my new direction. I'm beginning to get this complete awareness that the lying and collusion that seems to go on, and coercion, because it is coercion to tell people if you talk, we're going to take away your salary that you honestly deserve. And that's what happens. Or if you talk, you're not going to get medical care, like my guest Erica Dugan, who's talking about the fracking industry. So her family is having a hard time getting medical coverage. I mean, this is outrageous. This is why I'm grateful that I can give Erica air on this channel. We've had people on from St. Louis who, frankly, can't come back on right now because they're in litigation, or they're hoping to be in litigation. So that's the coercion that the Manhattan Project subjects every single American to. We are subjected to serious silencing and lying by not just the nuclear industry, but by the whole technology. So this morning we're going to have on with us Donna Gilmore. So I'm going to give her a call in a minute. I told her I'd call her at 5 after 8. I really appreciate, and citizens like Donna Gilmore from San Onofre Safety has been instrumental in outing the information that our nuclear waste is held in half-inch thick containers, and that our Congress right now with the Shimkus bill 3053 they're thinking about deregulating the nuclear industry and privatizing it, and having the nuclear industry just have full access to their emergency funds whether they need it or not. I mean, it is outrageous what they're doing. So, it's kind of interesting when Donna comes on because I like listening to her, but then again, it's like, we recognize more and more that we're on a need-to-know basis. We definitely don't need to know. That's their decision. We don't need to know. And if you start speaking out, you get into trouble. So this is what we want to change. So our idea is to come out with it as being honest and open and saying, hey, our positive thinking and our admitting that we have these issues is going to help us find solutions. We can no longer be silent, but there's no point in like the guillotine routine. I don't want to be part of the doomosphere. I want to be part of the solution sphere, so to speak. So let me give Donna a call and see if she is ready to join us. So hold on just one second. Do. How do you like my sound music? I'm connecting us through Skype, and we're calling her cell phone. So hold on, Pecan. Let's see if this works. I certainly hope it does.
Hi, Lonnie.
Hi, Donna. You're live with us on the air here on UCY.tv. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yes. I was saying that how even though it's kind of early in the morning, I'm grateful that I have this venue that I can allow people like you to come on regularly and talk about what's going on because we're simply not being told. And I don't think it's part of the doomosphere to talk about it. I think it's just part of our responsibility as adults to figure out something else.
Well, I think, it's difficult to find this information, so I'm glad you're reporting on it, but it's hard to get media attention. And then there's a lot of propaganda that a lot of good people are believing. So
that's true.
So, you have to look at what's really going on. And I mean, when I talk to people about what's going on, here we are right here, 5 miles from San Onofre.
Wow.
It was a nuclear plant that was shut down because it leaked radiation into the air from Edison redesigned these steam generators, and they messed up on the design, and they failed after one of them leaked after only 11 months in use after they promised they would last 40 years. So
wow.
But yet they still wanted to restart the one that hadn't yet leaked. They're just insane here. I
think that's part of the Manhattan Project. I was just saying, I think that the Manhattan Project has not ended. I think it's that same secrecy, the same lies, the same, let's just tell them, make everybody believe what, you have to just tell the public whatever it is you want them to hear. It doesn't, without regard to the results.
Yeah, you really have to do some digging, on my website, San Onofre Safety. Once I realized that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission was not protecting our safety and is another captured government agency, and once I learned that Southern California Edison has the worst safety complaint record from their own employees than any other nuclear facility in the country, when I first got involved, when I found out they were firing employees for reporting safety problems.
Wow.
So it was unbelievable to me. I never could imagine what's going on. It's unbelievable. But my website, the San Onofre Safety, I only put information on there where I actually have government documents or documents that are actually from the national labs to back up what I'm saying, because this is such unbelievable information. So I found a systemic problem, and it's changed what I do with my life, trying to get the truth to the public and even to elected officials and state level regulators. The level of propaganda goes right up to the top, whether you're talking Republicans or Democrats. The misinformation is is what they hear. So,
this is how our elected officials keep rubber stamping these liars year after year and keep ignoring it.
They really don't know. And some groups like the Union of Concerned Scientists that are more independent experts, and I truly believe that they're trying to do a good job. They got it wrong on how nuclear waste is stored in the country, but aren't willing to walk back on that. So,
don't you think that's part of the lies, though? Like that, it's incomprehensible that isn't it Dave Lochbaum? Isn't that his name?
Yeah, he's one of them, Ed Lyman and Dave Lochbaum.
Don't you think though it's incredulous? I've read some of his statements on this issue. He's made public statements about this. To me, when I've read them, honestly, it seems incredulous that he could have the statements that he makes. The containers are not more than a half an inch thick, right?
Right.
They're barely 5/8 inch thick.
Yeah, there's just very few that are 5/8 of an inch thick. Most of the ones in the United States are half-inch thick stainless steel.
It's incredulous. It's incredulous that they would take that position that they do, I find.
Yeah, well, I don't want to. Let's spend our time on things that.
Good. Thank you. That's why I like you. Okay.
Yeah, let's spend our time on letting people know what's going on
and what actions people should take after this show once they hear it. Because it does matter that people get involved.
Right. It does. Yeah, it definitely does. We get some media attention, but we don't get a lot. And even our media is captured. You have, there was a public television station down in San Diego that, they get pressure. The president of Edison International meets with the president of the media outlet, and whether it's carrots or sticks, all of a sudden we're not getting coverage anymore. So, so we have to do it ourselves. This has to be a grassroots movement using social media and organizing like you would do if you were trying to get a new candidate elected to office that wasn't the popular one. We need that kind of effort. So, but let's give people some facts of what's going on. Okay, a huge news. Okay, number one, so for people that may be new listeners, the majority of the United States stores the most lethal type of waste, radioactive nuclear fuel waste. They store it in mostly half-inch thick stainless steel canisters that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission admits can crack, but cannot be inspected for cracks inside or out, cannot be repaired, maintained, or monitored in a way to prevent leaks. Now, would you you don't need to be a nuclear engineer or a nuclear physicist to know and think of this as an analogy being a car designer or a car mechanic. You don't need to be know how to build cars to know that you're not going to buy a car that you can't inspect, maintain, repair, and gives you no warning before something major could go wrong. That is the insanity going on in this country. That is how we're storing nuclear waste. And it's all because of money. The cost difference at the time they first started standardizing on these inferior containers was less expensive. And every decision you can look at cost being a factor. And I have information in writing where these power companies admitted that's the reason they chose these uninspectable containers that can crack. So that's the situation we're in. The NRC says once a crack starts, the crack can grow on its own through the wall in as little as 16 years. Now, they don't know if any of them are cracked because they have no way to find cracks. But the Coburg nuclear plant had a...
Why do they have no way? Can't they just look at the canisters?
You would die if you got close to it. The thing, because the thin wall canisters don't protect from gamma rays or neutrons, They have to be stored in a thick concrete overpack. So some of them are horizontal, some of them are vertical thick casts, a few are just below ground. But every one of these concrete overpacks has air vents because the fuel is not only lethal, highly lethal, but it's also extremely thermally hot. And so that must continuously be cooled, and they use convection air to cool. So there's inlet and outlet vents that circulate air around this thin canister to keep it cool. And because they didn't design it to be inspected, they're trying to come up with a way robotically to find a tool that will go through these air vents and see different parts of the canister. Now, you can't find cracks with a camera. They don't even have the robotic. They'll tell you they got a robotic thing working. They won't tell you what they have on the end of it that isn't working. It's basically a flawed design. It's more of a con to give people false hope that they're going to be able to figure out how to find cracks. And I've
in other words, it's their only hope. It's their only idea right now that maybe they're like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Let's work on that.
Yeah, well, that's basically what you have is another misdirection.
Doing. Who cares if we poison millions of people and destroy the environment?
Yeah, and there's a great material corrosion document that deals with finding cracks in stainless steel vessels. This is considered a pressure vessel. It's written by Parrott, and it gives you all the alternative options to how you can find cracks and measure depths of cracks and what the pros and cons of each option are. And, basically, they can't do it, to put it simple. So, it's just a big con. And then here's the thing. Even if they find cracks, what are they going to do if they find a crack?
Right.
One of the major companies that makes this, Holtec, the president, Chris Singh, admitted in a public meeting here locally that it's not even if you could find a crack, even a microscopic through-the-wall crack will release millions of curies of radionuclides into the environment. And even if you could figure out a way to repair it in the face of that, it isn't even feasible to do without introducing another area for cracking. We have the guy on video. We have the president of the company on video admitting to this, okay? So we have evidence to share, and that is on San Jose Safety. And then here's the new one. Here's the new kicker. So we had a recent meeting on San Onofre by Edison, and there apparently were some loose bolts or parts that were in one of the new canisters they're trying to load, a Holtec canister. And they loaded 4 canisters before they knew there was some defects in the canister basket. They have this 18-foot-long shim that goes in the corners to kind of keep it stable. And then they have a cutout at the bottom for helium airflow inside of the container. And Holtec changed the design, and instead of doing a cutout at the bottom in the aluminum, they decided to just make the bottom flat and stick 3 pins or bolts in the bottom. If you saw a picture of it, it looks like a spike heels. It looks equivalent of spike heels, except there's no sole. It's like you've got 3 spikes, and that's holding the bottom of this up. They're 1/2 inch thick, 4 inch long. It's ridiculous. And they didn't go get approval of the NRC to do this, but the NRC has exceptions where they allow these companies to make changes without even telling the NRC.
Wow.
Supposedly they don't affect safety, but, it's a kind of a gray area. But in any case, so Tom Palmisano from Edison is talking about the problem, and then he admitted on camera, and we have the video of it, that even if there was something wrong with these canisters that they loaded, these defective canisters, they have no way to unload them. They can't. When the fuel comes out of the reactor, it sits in a pool of water.
I'm sorry, but that made me laugh. You're telling me they put some up on they moved a couple of them and realized they can't unload them?
Well, they can't unload them. He admitted that no one has ever unloaded any canister in the United. No one has ever unloaded one of these once they load them with fuel. They go from the fuel is in the water for 5 to 15 years, depending on how long they burn the fuel.
So they have no idea what's going to happen.
Oh, well, of course they say no problem. Of course they say no problem. So this is huge. This affects every facility in the country.
Yeah.
And, I have some research that basically indicated this, but to have them in a video admit this publicly.
Which video is it on your website, Donna? I'm sure you have it on your website, correct?
You know what? I haven't posted it yet. I need to post it.
Is it public access? Like once it gets posted up, can we copy it and put it on our own videos? Like Creative Commons, so we can get that out on YouTube because there's this guy Organic Slant. He makes these videos. I want to send it to him.
Yes, it's out. It's on YouTube. If you check San and Free, I'm trying to think. I know Gary Hedrick's posted it on his YouTube video. I just haven't had a chance to post it yet. So we can. Do you have an area with your podcast that you can post links and things like that, or not?
I don't have it on my YouTube channel. I ought to be better. Thank you for giving me that.
I will
put that on.
Okay, I will commit to adding that today. I will put it right on my homepage. Okay, so I will commit to doing that today. So if your readers check later today or tomorrow,
this is a very big issue what they're saying. Huge. This is not. Yeah. I mean, he's saying it's so blasé, as if it's like it's just another hurdle we have to overcome.
No, here's the explanation. He says, well, we could probably put the canister back. There's only two ways to unload a canister that's filled with fuel. The model they use is welded shut. You have to put it back underwater and do it that way, or you have to have a building, a thick concrete building that protects from radiation and do it robotically by being outside of that room. They do not have what's called a hot cell. It's a dry fuel handling facility. They do not have a hot cell on site. They don't have one at any nuclear facility, at any nuclear plant. And they're the one in the country that was big enough, the TAN facility, Test Area North in Idaho at Oak Ridge, that was large enough to take the fuel out of one canister and put it in another in a hot cell. That was destroyed in 2007. But at any rate, let me finish this part of the story. He said the reason that they can't put it back, is the canisters, and these canisters, he said, are 200 to 300 degrees centigrade. Once they're in dry storage, they heat up, and water boils at 100 degrees centigrade, So you've got this super hot temperature for this fuel, and to put that back in water and reflood the fuel, you'll end up with some reaction. So they don't really have a way to do it. They've never done it. He says, well, maybe they could figure it out in a few years. That's where the BS starts.
That's what I said. This is their attitude. It's like, oh, this is just something we have to figure out in the future.
Yeah, no big deal. We probably could figure it. I mean, that is the BS line. So here they are. We've got over 2,700 of these installed around the United States. There's a thin wall type and a thick wall type that's much better, but they normally don't pick the ones that are better. But in any case, if you have a problem, you need to be able to unload it. So we have 2,700 installed in the country, and not one of them, if there's a problem, could be unloaded. I mean, this is the insanity in this country. Wow. And they know it. They have known it all along. Now, their license, this is where the NRC is complicit. The NRC requires that you have to be able, if you have a pool, if you have a spent fuel pool, you have to be able to unload the canisters back into the fuel back into the pool. It's required by their license. And yet the NRC knows they can't even do it, but they just look the other way. Hey, we're covered. We put it in our requirements. We've met our bureaucratic BS requirement here.
But if it's in their requirements, they're required to enforce it.
They should be able to. Well, here's how they enforce it. They required Edison to do a simulation, not with live fuel, but a simulation that they could unload back into the pool. That's all they have to do to meet. Yeah. So this is huge. So and the California Coastal Commission gave them a permit to put these canisters here. Union of Concerned Scientists endorsed this terrible system. Right. But they did not tell the Coastal Commission has a requirement of transportability. They have to promise they're going to maintain this stuff so it can eventually be moved away from the coast. It's sitting right at the beach here in Southern California, in San Diego County, right near the border of Orange County. And they said, hey, we've got sea rise, coastal corrosion. You have to promise Special Condition 7 that they have to be able to move it away. Well, Tom Palmisano, Edison knew they had no way to unload canisters that could be failing. No way to unload. No way. And they did not disclose that to the Coastal Commission, that they had no way to deal with that. There's no NRC approved anything.
Can't you guys ask the Coastal Commission to relook at their decision based on that information?
Yes, and I have sent an email to Joseph Street, who is. Did
you send him that video with the guy from Holtec saying, "Hey,
I did. Yes,
good for you"?
Yes.
Yes.
So, but we need more than Donna Gilmore doing this. So
that's the thing. Yeah. And do you think it matters that people from outside of California would call these people?
It doesn't matter. Send them an email. If you look at San Onofre Safety, right on the homepage, I've got 3 action items, and this is one of the action items to contact the Coastal Commission. The more people they hear from, the better. And I even have Joseph Street. You can just email Joseph Street, and ask him to forward it to the commissioners. Yeah, they need to revoke the permit they gave them, because a condition to revoke the permit, you have to show that they knew at the time, and they didn't disclose that they had no way to unload the canisters, and that they don't meet the transport requirement. Now, radiation is federal preemption. The states do not have any authority to regulate anything to do with radiological impact. Okay, it's total. They've got our federal laws fixed, so the states have no rights. We're stuck with it. But we can't make decisions based on radiological impact. So you can only, whatever agency you're dealing with, and this would apply to any.
Could you repeat that again? That's very huge information. Repeat that again.
Yes, the federal laws have been fixed, so the states have no legal authority to regulate anything that has to do with a radiological impact.
How would we change those laws? Who makes those laws? The Congress and the Senate.
Congress, and then the president signs it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how. So the only way that you can do this is by looking. The Coastal Commission has the authority to say, okay, we can permit this or not permit this. They have states' rights that they can control what can get installed at the coast. They have a legal authority. There's no federal preemption on that. So in each state, you need to look at what your state's rights are and stick within their legal. Even if the Coastal Commission wanted to turn this permit down because it was radiation, they legally do not have the authority to do that. Okay. But they do have other legal authority. So as long as you stick within your legal authority, you have a chance to stop the crazy. And regarding the federal level, I have spoken to 3 former or 1, 2, 3, yeah, okay. Former commissioners and even chairmen of the NRC do not know these canisters cannot be inspected. They did not know it until I told them. And there's one that spoke. I went to Maryland. I met with one of the current ones that's still there. He had no idea how they were storing nuclear waste, knew nothing about the containers. And there are better containers for storing nuclear waste, and I have right at the home page. I know people don't have a lot of time, so I put the most important stuff right at the top of the home page.
Just scroll down. It's right underneath it. It's easy to find this the petition to revoke the coastal thing. There's a whole bunch of links you've put on. It's very easy to find as you scroll down on the home page.
But in terms of, and what's needed, and this is going to take, people to do this. What's needed is to educate all levels of government, state, local, federal. When we worked on having Edison not restart a broken nuclear reactor, we did city council outreach. Even though the cities don't regulate anything to do with radiation, they're there to represent our safety. So we ask for cities to write letters to state and federal regulators and elected officials on their city's behalf. And in this case, there's on the handouts page, there's a city handouts section on the handouts. It's a main menu item, and it has a sample city resolution for this issue, and basically it says, while the waste is here, where whatever city or state it's in here, while the waste is here, we didn't sign up to be a nuclear waste dump, but while the waste is here, it needs to be in containers that can be inspected inside and out, maintained, repaired, and monitored in a manner to prevent leaks. And if there is a leak, they need to have a plan on site to stop the leaks. And while it's here, there should be online radiation monitoring with public access, basically, so we know which way to run, So these are requirements you would inspect in a car. So any city council person should be comfortable with those requirements. And then we have a handout on that page that educates cities and other elected officials as to, they're not asking for something pie in the sky. Most of the world uses thick wall casts that meet these requirements that we're talking about. The NRC has approved thick wall casts. The nuclear industry in the U.S. switched because they were short-term less expensive. However, these thin wall canisters, because they could start leaking in 20 years, and they already have cracks, which makes them not transportable. They have cracks. I forgot my point there. So they're likely to have to be replaced prematurely. So in essence, they actually really cost more, even though the initial cost of the thin ones may be less. The thin ones, each unit is about $4 million. Counting.
Do you think it's more effective, Donna, for us to talk to our elected officials? Because what I hear you saying is that it's up to us to actually educate our local elected officials as well as our federals, to put pressure on the federals, because really that's really where it sounds like all this goes. Is up the food chain, everybody is either not being informed or misinformed.
Yeah, but there you have to have. I was talking to a elected official in Oceanside, and I said, well, in addition to educating them, they have to have the political will to do it. They're going to do what the public wants if they want to get reelected. So it's about educating and giving them the political will to do the right thing, because they want to get reelected. And he said to me, he goes, yeah, that's pretty much how I work, So he wants to get reelected, so he's going to do whatever his public wants, So he owned it. But that's a political reality. You may think that sucks, but it is what it is. So we need an awareness movement in addition to informing our elected officials, and then you have all these counter people saying, "Oh no, this isn't true. This isn't true." And so what I've started to do is educate the experts that the elected officials trust. Now, Union of Concerned Scientists, I haven't had any luck with them, but I educated some others who truly didn't know about these problems and are willing, to speak up. So that's a new approach I'm taking, is getting the experts I already trust educated, because this information was hidden from them too. So.
Well, also, don't you think that those other experts, perhaps the more they get educated, they will also educate their peers, and maybe they will be able to put some pressure on the Union of Concerned Scientists, who for some reason seem unwilling to change their opinion about things?
Yeah, I mean, this shouldn't be an issue of opinion. This should be an issue of facts, and they do not have the facts on their side. But
they do have the power. Let's just be clear. They don't have the power. They have influence, but they don't make the decision. But they have influence. So let's don't give them more credit here than. Okay. So the other thing is there is this myth that the pools are dangerous, so we need to make the pools less dense or shut them down and get everything in dry storage. Any dry storage is better than the pools. Well, that is absolutely not true when it comes to these thin wall canisters. Now, if you want to take it out of the pool and put it in a thick wall cask that can be maintained so they don't leak, that's a different story. But putting it in these thin wall canisters is like taking it out of the frying pan and putting it in the fire, because these canisters can crack, you can't see the cracks. You basically lit the fuse and you have no idea how long the fuse is before these things leak. They've been downplaying the risk of what happens with a through-wall crack. The research reports that I have read by independent experts that are been endorsing get it out of the pools as fast as possible, put it in anything. They totally did not address material corrosion issues. They didn't address the fact that they're using high burn-up fuel, which is fuel that burns 2 to 3 times longer in the reactor. When that happens, you end up building up these high drives, and if you get air in the canister, you can have explosions. If you get water inside the canisters after they're in dry storage, and I'm speaking of just regular water, whether it's seawater, rain, whatever, that kind of water without boron in it. They put boron in the pool, so you can actually have a criticality. I have written evidence from Holtec, the vendor, and from the NRC confirming it, that if you have a through-wall crack in one of these canisters, water gets in there, it will go critical. Which is, it's like a meltdown in the can. Now, how long that criticality will last, I had not been able to find evidence on that, but and I have a new paper on that. What's their response if it goes critical? Do we know that plan?
This is what the NRC says. That will never happen because we'll never have through-wall cracks, so there won't be any way for water to get inside. That's their response.
Don't they have vents? Can't water get in through the vents?
No, I'm talking about the water can get into the vents, yes. Yes, the water can get into the vents, and they own that can happen. But because there's no through-wall cracks, the water can't get in.
But what if they know they're known to crack in 20 years? That doesn't make sense. Aren't they known? They are known to crack in 20 years, right?
We have what the NRC did because these haven't been used long enough to know how well they will operate. Some are just at 25 years. As far as we know, they haven't cracked yet. That what they did is they looked at other comparable vessels at nuclear plants, and the Coburg nuclear plant they considered comparable to these canisters here at San Onofre. It leaked in 17 years.
Have they inspected every canister that they are, saying that they're going to move? Are they doing an individual inspection
they have no way to inspect.
So then how can they say there's no cracks?
They don't say there's no cracks. They say we're not aware of any.
Yeah, but then they're putting them in containers that have vents that if it gets wet, right, from the seawater, it's going to create a criticality. Am I misunderstanding that?
If you have a through-wall crack in the thin canister, you have your half-inch thick stainless steel canister.
Right, but they're not inspecting them to be able to see if there's no crack. So they're going on an idea that it doesn't have a crack, but if it does,
the crack has to go all the way through the container. So once the crack is there.
Okay,
yes.
15 years from, so let's say they put it out there 15, 20 years from now, the oceans rise 50 feet.
Well, you don't have to wait for sea level rise. You just,
a big storm.
So now, here's the thing. Initially, the NRC told me that it would be 30 years before the canisters were cool enough for any moisture to stay on the canister long enough to dissolve corrosive marine salts, okay? This is what they told me, okay? So they said, oh, well, we won't start having cracks for at least 30 years. These things are too hot. Of course, they'd never measured any. So then they hired EPRI, Electric Power Research Institute, which is basically an arm of the utility and the electric power industry. They had them actually take the temperature of a few canisters around the country. They took the temperature of some at Diablo Canyon, which is also on the Pacific in San Luis Obispo County, near by the Pacific. 2-year-old canister had a low enough temperature for moisture to stay and dissolve salt on the canister. They don't know if they have cracks, but they know all the conditions are there.
Wow.
Now here's where it gets absurd. Okay, so basically I have the hard evidence from them, from the NRC, from their company that did this, did the inspections would be the wrong term here, that actually took the temperature, and they actually used a tool to go through the air vents to take the temperature and to scrape the dust. They never clean these things, so they're full of dust. So they scrape the surface and to find what corrosive particles. And gee, sure enough, they found salt particles by the ocean. Shock. Magnesium chloride. And so now we have this evidence that where they said 30 years before the canister would be cool enough, now we know it's 2 years. Check. They can't tell they can't say that anymore. They admit these canisters, once a crack starts, it grows on their own 16 years. So they come out publicly and said that. So the only thing left is the amount of moisture in the air. All right. So would you believe that the NRC, their material engineer, Daryl Dunn, in a public meeting, tried to tell me that we don't have enough humidity at the beach for moisture to get on the canister?
Yes, I can believe that. I can't believe that, yes, because they are paid liars.
Well, so I mean, I go, where do you get your information? NOAA. I go, what NOAA data are you talking? And ocean weather information. Vandenberg. I said, look, I'll send you some pictures. I sent them the weather information about the coastal area, frequent fog, frequent daily fog. I sent him a picture of San Onofre shrouded in fog, onshore surf, and I sent him a picture. I actually am lucky enough to have a view of the ocean from my house. When the fog rolls in, you can hardly see across the street. I live a ways back from the ocean, but I can see it. And then other day, and then on a clear day, you can see Catalina. So I sent him before and after pictures. I'm setting. They're not responding to my pictures. All they'll say is thank you for your comment. That's the best they got. That's the best.
Exactly. I'm surprised they didn't add "and no harm to public human health." I'm surprised they didn't say that at the end of every single email.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, I've got a slide presentation where I show a picture of San Onofre shrouded in fog by the beach, and the headline is the NRC says San Onofre doesn't have enough humidity for corrosion. And people just laugh when they see it. But that's what they're down to. That's the best they got, you know. Now, EPRI, this lab that they hired, this lab was hired. I don't know who paid them, if Edison paid them or whoever paid them. They did a report claiming it would be 85 years before we have any leaks at San Onofre. Guess what? They left out the coastal conditions out of their report. They left out the Diablo canister that they themselves had inspected and found a 2-year-old. They left out the Coburg information the NRC provided about a 17-year leak. I mean, they cherry-picked their data to give whatever conclusion, you know, Edison wanted at San Onofre. That's the bottom line, you know. So if you see a report by EPRI, you really have to question the data and look close, because I think they have some good people there. But the people that make the decisions, you know, they're going to write the report, you know, that for their customer, or else they're just not going to share information if their customer doesn't want it shared. So that's the way these things are working right now.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
Donna, we have about 12 minutes left. Do you want to talk to our listeners about what actions they could be taking to help?
Well, I have a couple more. I have, you know, they can go to my homepage, and then it'll list the actions that you could take there. I have a couple of other things I wanted to share. The Nuclear Waste Technical Review Board recently issued a report, December 2017, and it says these containers must be inspected inside and out to avoid having explosions. They went on record saying we could have hydrogen gas explosions in these canisters, so they need to be inspected inside and out and monitored in a way so that doesn't happen. This is huge. And this is a report to Congress, okay? So, you know, so that's used. The other thing is the Nuclear Waste Technical Review Board. They have oversight over the Department of Energy, and they report to Congress on if they think that the Department of Energy is doing a good job and what their recommendations are. So this is relatively new. Then also the Nuclear Waste Technical Review Board had a meeting on permanent repositories in March, and I watched that meeting. They had are you there?
Yes.
Okay. They had representatives from across the country talking about everything they've tried in terms of a permanent repository and why it didn't work. They talk about that they do not have the technology to even monitor this waste short-term. Forget long-term. They do not even have short-term solutions for a permanent repository. That is the big story that's being hidden. They make it sound like we have, you know, decades or centuries to solve all this. And they, you know, so at the end of the meeting, the very end of the meeting, one of the board members says, well, how are we going to get people to want to use a permanent repository when we don't even have the short-term technology to do this? And then she says, well, we can just tell them that we have the confidence we can figure it out. We, you know, those coal miners in that mine that collapsed in that South American country, we got those out, so we should be able to do this. That was the best she had. And then another member there from Texas says, we had this little girl fall down a well. He talked with his Texas accent. We had a little girl fall down a well, a really deep well. She's there for hours, and we got her out. So if we could get her out, we can do this.
Wow. What arrogance. Oh, my gosh.
You know, it's really rationalizing. It's just rationalizing. It's, you know, the people that there is a level of delusion with people that are involved in the nuclear industry I refer to it as like a bad love relationship. When you're in love with the wrong person, they're only going to do you harm, but there's something that draws you to them, so you ignore all the signals. That's what's going on with these people's brains, whether it's the money or the power or whatever they're in love with. They don't want to see these other parts. So, that's what I see, a lot of delusional thinking.
Can you run for president, Donna Gilmore?
No. No, that's not my thing. My thing is to...
you're so sensible. You're so completely sensible. I tend to get all emotional about stuff. I'm like, what? So what actions... I know I'm just looking at your homepage. You've done a lot of good work on the front of the homepage to make it much more accessible to people now. I love this key handout, waste handouts with shared elected officials, because we really have to keep on about this nuclear waste, because they will sneak in these kinds of laws without us even looking. This is how we got our rights from states taken away from us, because we weren't paying attention to the laws they passed.
Yeah, well, we have to deal with what's going on currently, and nobody else is going to do this. Donna Gilmore can't do this for you. I can help. I can help. I spend my time researching and consulting with material engineers, nuclear physicists, and others. But there's a limit to what one person can do. We need to have the political will. We need to have people educated with hard facts. This is not the time to get emotional.
Right.
This is time to save our country, our communities.
That's right.
Our planet.
Educate yourself. Read the studies. The links are on your page, frankly.
Yeah, they don't need to read they don't need to read the studies. If you have some scientists calling in, they can read the studies, so they know that I'm not, delusional here. But the references are there. So you just need to share the information in a factual way. And the handout, the city council handout, is a good tool. I've used it when I spoke to Ralph Nader. I've used it when I spoke to NRC commissioners. The truth is even being hidden from the 5 NRC commissioners that control our destiny on this. The middle management at the NRC hides this information from them, gives them the illusion that everything's safe. So this is like the greatest con, So, and it doesn't matter Democrat or Republican. Both sides have been conned. Both, So this is a bipartisan. It doesn't matter whether you're for or against nuclear.
What about this bill 2396? I'm seeing it on your homepage. 2396 and House Bill 4441, the Safe and Secure Decommissioning Act of 2018.
Yeah, there's that bill, and then there's 3053. There's 2 bills on there that need to be opposed.
Where are they in the House? Like, how are they moving through? There's one that I don't know how far any of them are going to get, but what these bills are, it's an opportunity to educate your elected official, because they're going to be paying attention to these bills. So because they're out there, now is an opportunity to educate them on why they should not sponsor these bills or co-sponsor these bills, and why they should oppose those bills. So I look at this as an educational opportunity for our elected officials. Our elected officials have so many things to worry about at the federal level, with their states, all these issues. They don't have time to become experts, but they're listening to the wrong experts. They're listening to the wrong independent experts. They're listening to the nuclear industry. They're being deceived. So so if you're in the district of one of these people voting for this or co-sponsoring this, we need to get them educated on the flaws in of what they've been told. So yeah. Well, that is actually the really important thing. Is it does matter that we do contact our elected officials and give them our information that's helped us form our opinions, because they are often misinformed, and a lot of times they don't read the bills. I remember very distinctly calling Sandra Jackson Lee's office in California about 2007 or 8, I think it was. They were passing some type of a budget bill, but in the middle of it, I was actually reading the bill, and there was a thing to make organic gardening illegal. It was snipped in there by some lobbyist group. I'm like, did you read this on page 386? It was a $600 page bill. That was in the days when I used to read the bills, all the legislative bill. It was this huge fat, and I'm like, if it's this thick, it's got to have something really bad in it. So I decided to read it.
That's what I did with 3053. 3053, right. HR 3053 is the information that Shimkus, it's his bill, provided to the elected officials is totally misleading. What HR 3053, lots of your Democrat and Republican legislators are supporting that bill. They don't know that bill promises to take your waste away.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but you know what? If you inform them, just like with this bill, when I called her office back 2 weeks later to see because the bill was still in process, they said, "Oh, well, you and about 10 other people contacted our office, so we withdrew our support, and we've actually worked to have that removed from the bill." So that's why the point of that story is that it took 10 people to contact their office, and a few people contacting other members of the committee, and it added up to maybe 100 people. And 100 people were able to actually pay attention so that they took out making backyard gardening illegal. So, organic gardening illegal. This is the point. It matters. These little phone calls, you think it doesn't matter. It can and does have an impact.
Yeah, it's the only thing that really is going to make a difference because they have control over what laws get passed. Okay, so they have the power of the vote, and we should be, with an election coming up, we should be asking questions of the candidates that are running. We should be educating them. But
go to Donna's webpage for sure. www.sanonofresafety.org. SANONOFRESAFETY.org. And you can click on the links. She puts in a lot of effort to keep it updated and things there. Strongly suggest use that as a resource. That's why she puts in all these hours. Thank you, Donna, for joining us. This is awesome that you're willing to share your information and be here and help our listeners.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, there's no www on there, but that's okay. It'll find it.
Oh, there's no. So you can't find it at There's no www.
Yeah, no, you don't need that part.
There is no www. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Just type in sanonofre.org.
Yeah. ONOFRE is separate. Yeah. So anyway, and you can contact if you want information. You can contact me through the website. I'm more than willing to talk to people and help them get started in this or get educated.
Well, Donna, I hope you'll come back because I really love our conversations here. You help me really form my ideas about activism and what really activism means. I look at this as my American duty, not really activism. I consider this my duty as an American, to be honest.
Yeah, the problem is now, and we have no other options. So this is to help save your family, your community, your jobs,
and our
your
planet,
air, your water, the economic stability.
Well, we're in the last seconds. Those are good ending words. Thanks, Donna. Put your courage feet on. We'll talk to you guys later. Okay. Thank you.